Okay.
All right.
So-
What do you got?
Well, what comes to your mind when you hear the word autophagy?
I need to Google the definition of that. That's what comes to mind.
Okay. So you don't have a preconceived notion right off the bat?
No, I have a vague idea of like different. It's my idea of the word autophagy. AT, right?
AU.
Autophagy. Okay, got it. So my idea of the word, or my understanding of the word, is like different things you could do or how your body works for it to recover or keep recovering to its young state or current state and not deteriorate.
So I got into this topic on an idea of how it could help just improve overall health and potentially also prolong your life. Like autophagy, by its definition, the two words auto means self
Okay.
and phagy means to eat. So
Okay.
if you actually look up,
Self-eat.
those are now the word itself refers to a biomechanical thing that's happening. So I jumped into this subject. I had preconceived notions, and the first thing I wanted to talk about was dispelling some of these almost myths. Okay, because I've heard a lot of like one of our favorite doctors that comes on YouTube, he's real energetic,
He's
and
a good speaker.
he's a great speaker, and he's
Gets
like
your attention.
yeah, and he talks about like the 30-30-30.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know who
I
I'm
the
talking
guy.
about.
I know the
Okay,
guy.
so then I watched a clip, which is kind of where this all started, and it was like, you're here and you start to fast, and this happens and this happens, and then at 72 hours, autophagy peaks, is what he said.
Okay.
And so I had all these like concepts, what is happening, and the basics of what is happening is your body is dispelling waste. It's consuming it. It does use some of it for energy, but it also is getting rid of, I've heard things like misfolded proteins, damaged cells. There's all these things. And the first myth that I got busted was that autophagy only happens in this situation, whatever that was. Autophagy is actually always occurring. Your body doesn't shut this process off.
Makes sense. That's how the body works.
Right.
It's not like it's collecting waste until you fast someday.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you hear a lot of people throwing out these clips on YouTube, the little shorts like we were talking about, you could easily get that concept. I was like, if I want to get into autophagy, it's like ketosis. Ketosis, actually, you're not in it. You're either using glycogen or ketones. You're not using both at the same time.
Sure.
And so I had this idea of autophagy as like something that turned on
Ah, I see.
if you did. Now, what I came to find out is, like I said, that you're always in a state of autophagy, but how much? That's really the question. And so when we're eating a lot, we're not dispelling as much as we're intaking.
Okay, so let me add. So let's say, since your body's always in autophagy, let's say it's at 95% efficient. So 95, right? Every day, 95. But there's that 5%. And then that 5% starts to build up and build up and build up, whatever it could be. Rogue cells, cancer in 10 years, extra fat waste. I don't know. Okay, so that's what you're referring to, right?
Well, so not only are we always in it, but we're always in a flux of it. So,
okay, makes sense. Sometimes 95.
Right. Yeah, you're never just always 95.
Yeah.
Because at some point, you're going to have to eat. And that metabolic process is going to slow down.
So after a meal, it's at 25 or
Right.
50%. Okay.
So then I started looking at, well, what actually spurs it along. And I mentioned that I had gone down quite a rabbit hole.
Okay.
And this is where it led me, which was there are lots of things that actually increase this metabolic process in your body. And it's not just fasting for 72 hours, because that's where my journey that's the point where I leapt off from, was looking at fasting and autophagy. And come to find out, there are a whole list of things that help push it up.
Okay. I'm guessing one of them is the 72-hour fast.
Right. And there is evidence that after 72 hours, the process wanes off heavily.
Okay. Okay. Not only that, though. What was this a study group? 72 hours? Where's this number coming from?
That's a good question.
Okay, because I'll tell you. Let's say it was a study group.
Right.
What population was a study group done on? The average American or the average Japanese person?
It's a good question, but it's a different reason.
Okay.
So the reason is that measuring autophagy is almost impossible.
Well, okay, that's the next question. How do you measure it? Is it like, I feel good?
So the way that they do it, as far as I understand it, is they look for biomarkers in other areas. So like how much lipids is your liver dispelling? Okay, they look at other things to get an idea of where you might be. There's really no test. So all these guys that come out and talk about it, right?
Sounds like hoo-hoo science or
So we know it's happening. We know that it happens. That part we know. But to go into a person's blood and say at this point right now you're at, like we were talking about, like 95%, right? That's virtually impossible. That is, there really isn't a great marker. So a lot of the stuff that I started looking at was like, they're on the right track, but it's kind of...
Okay, then this kind of goes back. What is autophagy?
Right.
What are you measuring? When you say autophagy, what are you talking about?
So I'm not the scientist. I'm not a doctor, right? Autophagy.
Yeah, but what is your understanding of it?
So my understanding is that it's a process that actively takes damaged and damaged cells and waste products in the body, dispels it, and starts to use it for energy.
Hold on, you're saying part of autophagy is using waste for energy?
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
So this is where we start getting into, why don't we lose a tremendous amount of muscle mass while we fast?
For 72 hours.
For 72 hours. Because while the body's converting fats into energy and everything else, at a cellular level, we're converting some of this waste material also. So I know you remember that one guy, he fasted for like a whole year, a huge guy.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't...
300 pounds or something like that.
Yeah. And it's like, well, he didn't eat all of his muscle, so why not?
Yeah.
And that's because the body has built-in protection.
Well, hold on. But now you just jumped in without kind of explaining. You just said you're eating muscle while you're fasting.
I think a lot of people think that.
Okay.
When you aren't, there is some evidence, getting back to that guy I mentioned who promotes that 30.
Well, that's what he says. Your body instantly eats muscle. That's the first fuel source after it runs out. Yeah, after the sugar runs out,
right.
The first fuel source is muscle.
And he doesn't say muscle, but he does say protein.
Which okay.
But it's kind of a
I swear I heard him say muscle. I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
that's okay. You know,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
whatever he says, if you hear protein, you
think of
immediately
muscle,
you're
yeah.
thinking muscle, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I said it too. It's like the idea is that when we're in any kind of caloric deficiency, that we immediately start, turning catabolic and eating ourselves.
Well, can your body produce ketones from protein, aka muscle?
Your body, I thought, produced ketones from fat.
Okay, then it has to be fat because think about it. Your body needs to run on something, and it needs ketosis. It needs to be in the ketosis state. To get into ketosis state, it needs to run off of fat.
Yes.
So now we're talking about fat to survive. I mean, that's how the body works, right?
Right.
You stop eating, you're gonna start losing fat because your body's gonna go into ketosis, and then to provide or produce ketones, it's gonna eat fat. So when is it absorbing the protein in your body? When is it absorbing muscle?
You're, you know, that's kind of where I was at with a lot of these things where we have these concepts in our head that like it turns on and off, and it doesn't really.
It's not a on-off switch. It's
Yeah.
more like a valve. It's either more
Right.
or less.
And
Sure,
so when you
sure.
jump into ketosis, sure, yeah, your body burns up muscle glycogen, and then there's some sort of reserve that you have in your liver or pancreas, and you can go for a little bit longer, and then you might start converting some protein over while it gets you into ketosis, starts producing those ketones, and then kind of defaults over to fat as a fuel.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. So when you hear a lot of these fast talkers and
Smooth
talkers, they're promoting ideas with a lot of truth, but it's like they throw these spins on them. And it's not to say that their information isn't good to a degree, but I think that when you hear a lot of these things, they're intentionally skewing their words, to
Promote their product.
maybe to promote their product, but more or less to grab you and like, oh, that moment
Well,
of
yeah, that's why they're on stage to talk. Because if they didn't, they wouldn't be there. Yeah. Okay.
So one thing that I did want to know is like, okay, so how good is autophagy for you?
Well, it's always happening. So what is the question then? You have probably a different question.
So I wanted to know,
How good is it when you optimize autophagy?
well, how good is it for you? Do you really want to be in like a high level of autophagy
At
all
like
the time?
150%.
Right. And kind of, we're going to segue into this sort of naturally, the look, the aim, the looking down the road is like quality of life and longevity. How is this going to affect you? Why would you want this? And autophagy, one of the big markers of autophagy is reduced inflammation. So
That's huge.
right, no, it is.
Okay. And which makes sense if the autophagy, from the definition we understand it, it should dispel waste, and, inflammation is kind of waste.
Right.
Or it builds inflammation when there's too much waste.
And then
Sure, okay.
you get into other things, so if you're
And it starts piling up after that.
right.
Sure. Okay.
And so I was looking into longevity as well.
Okay.
And how will this affect us in the long term? And you brought up a really good point that do you just want to live longer? And I was like, I made the argument. It's like typically when you start living longer, the quality of that length improves. You don't live longer and then have a degradation of health.
Okay.
As a general concept, right? You don't stack 20 more years on your life, but you're more unhealthy than before you made the changes that got you those extra 20 years. That just by itself doesn't even make sense.
Well, it's kind of like the people that enjoy life. You're not going to live forever. And they're doing, let's say eating everything they shouldn't be eating because they're enjoying life at the moment. But comes, I don't know, their 60s. They're not enjoying life so much.
So oddly enough, and I'm very glad you brought that up, I was kind of waiting for that little moment. So one thing that actually boosts autophagy has nothing to do with your eating.
Okay.
Circadian rhythm, that's one thing. We don't think we're going to jump too far.
Is that when the stars are aligned?
That's exactly right. Venus, yeah.
The time of month? Or
But when you start looking at a person as a whole, really as a whole, not even just you as a whole, but you and your environment, something that actually boosts autophagy is your surroundings, meaning your friends and your family, people who are enjoying their life. Like you're saying, maybe they don't eat the perfect diet, but they regularly engage in things that they enjoy.
Okay, but that leads to your body and how the hormones are released, what kind of hormones it has.
Yeah.
Then now we're talking about stress. We're talking about happy hormones.
Because one thing that absolutely kills autophagy,
Stress.
cortisol. Stress.
Okay.
If you want to just shut it down. And it's almost this funny little flip coin, because as we'll go into this a little further, a lot of the things that actually kick you into higher levels of autophagy are measured levels of stress. Acute stress that produces a result.
Oh, hold on. We're talking about work stress or like emotional stress? Or are we talking about physical stress?
So there's one thing that after digging through everything, sort of the heart of what I really wanted to get to, one thing that kicks autophagy into high gear more than anything else is a depletion of glucose in your bloodstream.
Wait, okay, so when you deplete glucose from your bloodstream, what happens?
It kicks autophagy into high gear.
Why? That's interesting.
Right. So the mechanics of how that operates, there is no study on exactly why this is. They can see two things that really push your glucose down or spend it really fast. And so there's two ways really to jump your level of autophagy high fast.
Okay, so you just said eliminate glucose. Let's say I go for a 1 mile HIIT type run that should do a pretty good job draining my glucose, and that should boost the autophagy.
100%.
Okay.
So the craziest thing when I heard the buzz on the internet about this thing was it all seemed like you had to get there through some sort of calorie restriction.
Okay.
But what about the calorie restriction was getting you to kick off autophagy? And it's this reduction in glucose.
Okay.
So when you stress the body, say through short bursts of exercise, you push autophagy way up. Then it declines because most people kind of in a standard setup, they work out and then they'll eat. So you might get a high spike, but then you replenish, and then you put this demand on your system to do something else, which is digest your food.
Okay.
And that shifts the gears. That doesn't mean that the spike didn't help, and that doesn't mean that you fall all the way back off because you ate. So you might, if you graph that, you might exercise, you get your autophagy up, and then you eat, and you come down like half. There is no, again, perfect marker for these things. So that is one way. Doing exercise actually throws you into autophagy. Now, some exercises are better than others. You mentioned HIIT. That will do it. Strenuous weight training will definitely do it. You have to deplete the glucose.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question. It's kind of a jerk question, but I'm also gonna answer it.
Okay.
So, autophagy. Who cares? We just found out about this pretty recently. It's a pretty modern term that's been thrown around. Maybe the term's been around for a long time, but it's just recently going into, the everyday Joe Schmo environment. Like you and I are knowing about it now, right? So who cares about it, right? We've been working out exercises for many years. Let's say the modern day exercise, starting in the 40s, 20s, right, where it kind of became mainstream, and nobody cared about it, right? So why should we care about it now, right? Hold on, I'm gonna answer that. So I would say every little advantage I could do, every little tweak along the way, along the journey of life, along of exercising and trying to feel good and staying healthy, I'm going to use. So it makes sense to me to know what it is, how to optimize it, what techniques to use to, better initialize autophagy.
And then you move on, right? And you find that your response to autophagy changes over time.
Okay, but are you talking about your body gets used to certain things? Like once you run long enough, your body is going to get used to it, so you got to run longer and longer and longer.
But then there becomes like an end point. But to more specifically answer your question, a person who's severely out of shape, maybe like me. Okay. I might be able to deplete a significant amount of my blood glucose and stimulate my muscles enough in other ways to actually push this up without having to do like a high intensity workout. So as you get in better shape, you're right. You're talking about adaptation.
High intensity workout for you and me are a little different.
Right. I mean,
so
you can't even lift a pencil without breaking a sweat.
Exactly. I sweat a lot, guys. So okay, hold on. So, hold on. Let's say you take a top elite gym athlete, and he's doing a high intensity workout. For me, that's going to be like kill me workout. So that's not a high intensity workout for me. I need to do something a little bit less.
Right. And there's other
So you're talking about the high intensity to your capabilities.
To a degree.
Okay.
But there are other things that factor into this as well. The actual amount of fat you carry has a huge effect on what you're actually getting out of all of this. So you have a lot of adipose tissue. You might find fasting is super beneficial for you. Say you have 100 pounds to lose, right?
Okay.
Fasting might be super beneficial for you, not just for losing the weight, but for kicking over autophagy and all these other biomarkers that we're looking for. As you reach a more normal amount of adipose tissue, the things that were getting you there before don't have as great of effect. So you might find that a lot of people want to do intermittent fasting. Okay. And you might be doing what's a good intermittent fasting?
16-8. That's the most common.
Yeah.
Which I call it just skipping lunch.
Okay. So you're
or skipping breakfasting. Actually, in this case, yeah.
So you're exercising, you're getting in better shape, you're losing body fat. All these things are happening, And you might find that it's not so beneficial for you to have that window anymore. You might actually find that it's better to do like a 12-12 cycle. And then to give your body the stress that it needs to do, to kind of push you up, you might do a 72-hour fast.
So, okay, then I was going to bring this up. So going back to the 72-hour fast when we
Right.
started. So you're saying if you keep doing 72-hour fast, you're just going to get used to it and it's not going to be as effective.
And it's not so much a matter of getting used to it as it is where your body's at. You might have great success with a 72-hour fast for a long time. But at a certain point, especially if you're consistent with it, because I think that's where a lot of people, you can't just eat once, 72-hour fast, eat once and 72-hour fast forever. It's really not sustainable, in my opinion.
Have you tried it?
I think the camera speaks for itself. Have you tried it?
Hey, we don't know. Maybe you're at 500 pounds. You lost 50 pounds.
No.
It's a joke.
I'm at 500 pounds and I lost 50. Yeah. No, I caught it. Totally.
Okay.
So really the point of it is, people need to do their own research into these things. They really need, I think it's an important subject to investigate. I think there are things that you can gauge. Because I did look at how do you gauge where you're at with autophagy. And one of them is you dispel waste, you go to the bathroom when you haven't consumed anything. So that's kind of a marker that your body's doing its job. It's pulling things out of your system and you're eliminating
But
it.
when you urinate, that's also waste. Sweating,
Right.
growing hair, nails.
I don't waste that. That's all.
Just because I'm balding here, I'm not expelling much waste there.
So now let's kind of segue further into like longevity.
Okay, sure. I'm all about longevity.
Right.
Let's go for it.
So one of the things that's happening while you're in autophagy is your cells slow down their aging process.
Oh, well, hold on. How? I'm curious.
No, I know. You know what? Topic.
Slow down. Okay, so every time a cell replicates, it could only the lifespan it could replicate shrinks.
So and it's actually good that you asked because it brings in the other subject because
is it going slow-mo now, or is it
essentially it is.
Or the it doesn't get as damaged as it replicates?
So there's signals. There was a guy who was talking about this, like SRT1s or SI. Yeah, there's
Like markers.
and your cells. They're not receiving as much damage because you're literally, whether you fast or whatever, you are not intaking like free radicals as much. And since you're dispelling the bad stuff at a higher rate and you get rid of a lot of the bad stuff through this process, the things that you would normally hold on to that would damage your cells. So it maybe isn't so much that your cells are aging slower as they're not receiving as much damage.
Okay, but now you're getting to almost that area of cleansing. Right?
Well, it's very clean. Yeah.
So hold on. The term cleansing and how people use it for their body. Let's say I see it all the time on like shorts as you're scrolling through Instagram or TikTok, whatever. They say, this is my cleansing procedure.
The chai seed challenge.
Yeah. The cleansing procedure, like my liver cleansing procedure. My kidney, this little cleanse your kidneys. I don't think people even know what they're talking about when they talk about cleansing. Because like, let's go to this, like as far as or maybe I understand cleansing, the only real way to cleanse is to fast. There's no other way to cleanse other than to fast, because it's not like this tea is gonna, let's say, speed up some reaction in your body, or some, like, it makes your kidneys work extra hard to cleanse themselves of extra salt. Or
You don't think drinking a cup of olive oil just helps eliminate gallstones?
no.
Okay.
No, I don't. Because I think another big misconception of people, imagine your body is a donut. What I mean is,
I imagine that all the time.
well, not this donut. We're not at this donut. Technically, this is the donut. This is the center of the donut. But the whole inside is your stomach, and then it goes all the way through your anus. That's the whole. That's how our body is. Mm-hmm. The inside's really the outside as well. It kind of goes in, and then whatever we could absorb on the inside is what, minerals and proteins and fats and carbs we absorb. So like, and then like we talk about olive oil. We talk about stomach acid, how much it destroys a lot of things people think they are consuming or their body is going to absorb. When there's like this, like, you shall not pass is the stomach acid. Also, like the chia seeds, or any seeds that people eat that are not actually ground down, open, they just go right through you.
Right. Actually, that's the beauty of the chia seed cleanse.
Oh, well, that's more of a...
it's a colon cleanse.
It's a colon cleanse. It's like gut cleanse or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know if it's a colon cleanse, but yeah, it's more like, might as well just be eating like little rocks.
Yeah.
But the rocks are sharp, so they're going to hurt you. You're going to kill yourself eating rocks. But like the seeds, body doesn't absorb seeds. The seeds have a little cover. They're like evolutionary designed to go through a system.
Right.
Like, I mean, bears eat, all sorts of seeds, or the berries, and the berries grow from the, from the poop of the bear.
And it's a beautiful system, because they get encapsulated in fertilizer. It's like, wow, thanks.
Yeah, exactly. There's a fertilizer seed. The seed loves it, starts growing. But like the whole eating seeds of what is the most popular seed? There's like, it's not is it the chia seed? No.
Well, there's chia seeds and then there's chai seeds.
I don't know. There's this like, they're all like black little seeds, and everybody adds it to like their cereal and to their oatmeal. That's like the big one, the oatmeal. They're adding stuff to the oatmeal, and they're thinking it's gonna like, it has all these mineral properties, these seeds, but it never.
So chai seeds really do have. There are some health benefits. So chai seeds in particular have a coating on the outside that when you soak them in water, they swell up a lot. And
interesting. Okay.
Right. And so like I've made like the chai seed pudding. It's quite tasty. You just pour seeds in like a bowl, and then coconut milk, some like light coconut milk, and then it swells up really big. And you get this like creamy puddingy thing.
Coconut milk? You mean canola oil?
No, coconut milk. Canola oil? What are you talking about?
That's what coconut milk is made of. Or is that almond milk?
None of those.
Yeah, it has mostly like oils in them. You ever look at the ingredients in that stuff?
I have, and no.
Coconut milk. No, coconut milk is different, but it should be like almost clear. No. Or you're talking about the shell. They scrape the shell and they...
Coconut milk is thick and fatty, and there's only one ingredient, and it's coconut milk.
Interesting. I've never had coconut milk.
And then like light coconut milk, which you make the pudding out of.
There's the coconut oil as well, but
there's oil. Yeah, there is the coconut oil in it, but it's a whole food. It's not like a refined food. So
coconut milk is a whole food.
In a way. No. I mean, right. Meaning that they haven't cut it light coconut, they put water in it. Okay. But.
Okay. I mean, makes sense if they mix it with water. But what do they do for it to actually not separate?
Oh, it separates.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, so you got to mix it.
No, it is terrible. You got to shake it
Oh,
up.
so it's real then.
No,
Okay,
it is real.
Okay. If when stuff doesn't separate, that's like your first cue. There's something wrong with this product.
Right.
Like, what do they do for it to keep its consistency?
No, and then the coconut. Anyways, we're getting all off. This is not a cooking show yet. But the chia seed pudding, there are benefits to chia seeds. You do get some nutrients off of the little part that expands. The seed is still intact.
Okay.
Okay, but chia seeds have this coating that swell. I mean, it's like that.
How much bigger does it get? Like 2 times, 3 times?
At least 2 times. I mean, like if you start with a cup of chia seeds and then you add any liquid, really, like water, you just use water.
Sure, of course.
Okay. If you let it sit in there long enough, you could end up with like 4 or 5 cups of gelatinous goo.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very absorbent.
Yeah.
And then you consume it, and it's nice because it's filling. And a lot of the calories that they have to count on the packaging never get absorbed because they do pass.
Well, that's like, now you're talking about like those. There was a diet for a while where people would eat cotton. You've seen that? They would like soak it and then they would eat cotton just to fill up the stomach.
No. Are you serious?
Yeah. You've never heard of that?
Just find that so absurd.
I'm gonna have to post it right here.
Oh my God.
A diet of people eating cotton just to fill up the stomach.
They're like, just kidding. You might have to edit this out.
No. It's all staying in. Don't eat the shirt, man. I know you're hungry.
No. This is made from polyester, so
it might fill you up even more. I don't know.
Oh God. No, and then we're gonna get way off track here. Oh, that's hilarious. The cotton diet.
You've never heard of it, okay?
Right after I eat some diet pods.
You should be nice and clean inside. Talking about a cleanse, now that's a cleanse.
No, I just thought I would do my laundry and eat dinner all at the same time. Oh.
Well, the underwear will be clean after that.
Oh, wow. I'm going to need a second to compose myself after that. That's hilarious. I don't even know why I find that so funny, but yeah, eating cotton, that's a real thing. Why does it?
I don't know if you chew the cotton, you just swallow it. I think you put it in water. I don't remember. I saw it this a few years ago.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't heard that one. I hope you could tell by my reaction. It's just the first time I'd ever heard of that.
Okay, yeah, I'll post it.
Okay. Anyhow, where were we?
We're talking about. I kind of went on a rabbit hole of cleansing and how people think cleanses do actually what they think they do.
Right, and I think that's
Well, but it was a subtopic of something else.
the autophagy. Yeah, right. Autophagy is very cleansing. It's like cleansing at a cellular level. Autophagy also might be.
But that's the process of the body, what it does. Like we said, it does it every day.
Right. There is.
But we're just trying to ramp it up.
Right.
We're talking about optimizing autophagy.
Right. And that really, it walks hand in hand with fasting, because fasting does the thing.
It's probably the ultimate way to increase autophagy.
One of the things.
But then autophagy leads to getting rid of rogue cells, aka cancer.
Yes.
Right? That equals longevity.
Or at least it aids in getting rid of the things that could cause, like the free radicals that could cause a cell to go rogue. And, maybe cells that are damaged but not cancerous yet. I don't know, although I feel strongly that fasting could really help cancer patients.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I've seen so many studies how well fasting does with cancer patients. Not all of them. There's one I'm thinking of. I read his book. He wrote a book and he tried it. He got cancer. I forget exactly what cancer he had, but he did a 2-week fast or even longer. I think he kept fasting, trying to kill the cancer, and it would not kill the cancer. He actually died from cancer
While fasting.
while fasting. Exactly. So
Rough.
I think it's a combination. I mean, what kills cancer, as far as I know, lack of sugar. Sugar feeds cancer. So fasting, aka, it eliminates sugar. Oxygen. When you oxygenate cancer, it doesn't survive an oxygen-rich environment. So,
Which we're just, you know where I'm going. with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly,
all right,
exactly.
all right.
So, high doses of oxygen.
Yes, I wonder how you get that.
I don't know.
Well,
Hold on, but there's different ways to administer high doses of oxygen. There's the oxygen bottles where you just and you put it just directly into your lungs,
useless.
right? There's
Useless.
that. It does increase oxygen in your blood. It's a thing. I mean, hospitals do it all the time.
It's not useless. It's just
Well, that's for like a sick person that specifically needs oxygen in their
Right.
blood.
yeah.
Their lungs can't maximize their capability of absorbing oxygen to their blood. That's when you pump oxygen in people's mouths and in their lungs,
Yeah.
I should say. Okay, but we're talking about something else here.
We
So
are.
go ahead.
We want to jump into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, hyperbaric chambers.
Okay. I've heard about these long time ago, and again, it was like doing research on like longevity and cancer and what kills cancer.
And I mean, there's the things that it can improve: cognitive function, healing. You have a wound, you need it to heal faster. Oxygen, it just, you're bleeding out. You don't have as much blood in you because you've bled out a lot. You can kind of compensate for that, but hyperbaric chambers add the pressure, and that drives oxygen into deeper parts of the body that you don't just get inhaling it through your lungs.
Okay, but how is it? Give me more technical details on.
So you have oxygen in everything. You have oxygen in your bones.
Okay.
Right? So you breathe a face mask full of oxygen.
Okay.
Wonderful. You might elevate your blood oxygen, right? And you might get some of that elevated oxygen into your bones. But the pressure drives it deep, right? And you get a higher level of absorption of the oxygen that's available.
So okay, let me kind of understand what you mean. The pressure gets deep. So you have all these little veins at the ending. Let's say the veins end, right? They go throughout. Let's say your fingers, your legs, and then the little oxygen molecule. Oh, actually, I mean the cells carry the oxygen.
You're at the red blood cells.
Red blood cells. Is it push more oxygen to the red blood cells, or does it push the red blood cells deeper into the veins? Or
No. So you get,
because I don't know what it happens. I kind of have an idea, but I don't know what technically happens with the hyperbaric.
baric. Yeah.
Bolic, something else. It's like
Yes,
a
it
time,
is.
that's a time chamber. There's an anime about hyperbolic time chamber.
So I haven't done a deep dive into it yet.
Okay.
I don't know all the mechanics of it. I just have
But the results. We know
Right.
the results, right?
Right. Increased cognitive functions, faster healing. I've heard a lot of good stuff about it helping people with like severe autistic children,
Interesting.
right?
I wonder if it forces the brain to repair itself somehow.
Right. Stem cell activation.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on, and there's, have you ever heard of the mammalian diving response?
I heard the term.
So when all mammals, like, it was so funny when I met, because my wife doesn't swim, right?
No, I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay. So
I guess you got to
she-
teach her how to swim.
no, she's her fear of water is above no.
That's how you teach people to swim.
No. That's how you teach people how to drown.
Well, I mean, don't let them drown. But,
Should never get in the water again if we did that.
yeah.
But my wife did not know that all mammals can swim.
Okay.
Yeah, run that one in your head for a minute.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
What can I think of that can't swim?
There isn't one.
There is one. Your wife.
Just because she doesn't mean she couldn't.
Can't learn.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
humans can swim as a species. There's no species of mammal that can't swim.
But isn't humans the only one that needs to learn?
No. Wait. Humans are the only ones that need to learn how to swim?
Yeah.
No, it's innate. So there is a great book. Well, this is a deep dive subject for a whole other time. But there's a great book out there, how to multiply your baby's intelligence. And there's a doctor. I actually went to his site in Pennsylvania when my kids were little. So he has this whole regimen of things that you do with young children before the age of 5 and some brain damaged kids later as far as being able to increase their intelligence.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And so there's intelligence the way we conceive of it, but he has a higher degree of it. So physical intelligence is something for him. So he is a big proponent of, say, teaching gymnastics and balance. It's not even gymnastics. Really what it is balance and the ability to move the body through space.
Physical intelligence. That's a good one.
Right.
Remember
And
that.
so you can...
It's almost like what we call instinct, but it's not really instinct if you train on it.
No, and so he gets to the one instinct that we do have when we're born is how to swim. And he has all these babies. Moms go out in the pool.
I've seen tons of videos. Yeah,
Right,
the little
and
babies, you throw them in the pool, they flip over, and they're like,
Yeah,
exactly.
And so we know how to swim. It's weird because we're the only species that forgets.
Overthink it.
Right, and we forget how to swim.
We probably overthink it. That's probably what it is.
So,
Interesting.
anyways, the mammalian diving response. All mammals, when they get underwater and they have the pressure that you get, it's specifically the pressure, it slows your heart rate down.
Ooh, okay.
And one of the things that's happening to help you conserve your oxygen is one, the heart slows down. Now, not if you're panicking because you think you're going to drown, right? But you've heard of the pearl divers, they can hold their breath for some 20 minutes. It's ridiculous. They learn it through the two processes. They get used to it. They learn how to hold their breath and extend the period of time that they can hold their breath. They get in better shape. They get more efficient. But the other factor is the pressure of the water. And it pushes the oxygen into your blood, your bones. It drives it into your organs. And there's nothing else for it. There's no other process that I know of that can mimic that part of it. You can get in better shape. You can sit up and hold your breath and practice doing it longer and longer and longer. But there's no way of getting better at taking that pressure and that pressure working its magic. And what I like to think of is a coffee press, like an espresso.
Yeah.
You make the little puck, right? You represent something in your body. If you just drop water on the top of a coffee puck, it just sits on top of the coffee puck. You have to push it down before.
I mean, it's a good analogy. Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
And physics, they treat oxygen and atmosphere as a liquid.
Yeah.
Right. So
I know.
It's
what
a
you're
less
talking about.
dense liquid, but you still have the forces at work. And so when you increase the pressure, You drive it in deeper. All that to be said that when you use hyperbaric therapy, what you end up with are longer lasting effects from it. So you breathe oxygen for an hour, or you go into a hyperbaric chamber for an hour. And the water sat on top of the coffee puck. You might have got the top wet, but
That's
you really,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you press it down, you saturate it deep into the system.
That's the hyperbolic.
And that's why the pressure is so important. And there's levels. I haven't seen a hyperbaric chamber go over 2 atmospheres of pressure.
That was my next question. Where is it at? What pressure is it at?
So the
2 psi, 3 psi?
No, the common ones that I've seen do 1.35, 1.5, and 2.
Okay. Okay. Do you know the whole diver's sickness when divers rise too quickly?
Yes.
So is that if you, let's say, do 3 psi, is that going to happen?
I think there's concerns for symptoms like that, and that's why they limit the pressure, because 2 atmospheres of pressure everybody can withstand, I believe, because it's not really that much. I think 2 atmospheres of pressure is less than 10 feet underwater.
Oh. But no, you could feel 10 feet though.
You can feel it, but everybody could, like, if you jumped into a pool and you were at the deep end and you went 6 feet down,
You could feel that.
you could feel it, but you'd be okay. You come back up and you're not going to get a brain embolism.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
So I think they stay well below the threshold.
Oh, probably like 3
Right.
times, 4 times, or 10 times below.
Right. Because I know there are places where you actually, you have to get pressurized before you can even go.
Yep.
And, and then they have to really bring you up slowly. And it takes a very long time for you to go from, 10 or 20 atmospheres. I don't even know what the real limit of that is. Like, what is your atmospheric pressure limit? But I'm pretty sure that people selling hyperbaric chambers are not going to even get close.
Yeah. to that. Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's go back to the 2 psi.
Yeah,
It works, right?
it does.
Because I heard nothing but good things about it.
You know who else promotes the hyperbaric therapy is Dr. Amen.
Oh, the brain doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, no, it looks like it works. It's one of the things that's been around for a while, not used in mainstream medical procedures.
Right.
Why not?
I often ask that.
Does it work too good? Is that
the
what
more,
it is?
right, the more.
Let's put it on aluminum hat section.
Oh, are we already there? Are we? Wow.
Yeah.
And we didn't even get to longevity.
No. What? Well, I mean, we're talking about longevity.
Well,
Autophagy equals longevity.
All right. Well, I was going to bring one study up.
Okay, go for it. Because, I mean, again, it's all what we're talking about. It's all longevity.
All right. This is a real study.
Hyperbolic tanks, or I don't know, what do you call them, chambers. That, again, that's a huge longevity trick.
So, fasting, so autophagy, fasting, I was segueing into longevity and calorie restriction.
Okay.
Okay. The subject of calorie restriction is of wide interest because it is the most robust intervention to extend mammalian lifespan. More impressively, it reverses aging-associated physiological decline and makes better a wide spectrum of diseases. Now, this isn't fasting. This is literally just eat less.
Calorie restriction.
Yeah, so baseline, like, they're talking huge increases at just minus 300 calories.
So you're saying my 900 calorie meals is now I have to go to 600 calorie meals.
No, I'm saying daily caloric intake, great improvements have been seen with calorie restricted feeding.
Well, okay, well, can you be more specific? Is it 3 meals that are 600 calories now, or can I do one meal that's 1,200 and one meal that's 600,
Right.
or can I do one 1,800 meal?
So just speaking on calorie restricted feeding alone, they're just however you get your calories. It just looks
Yeah, but it's really important to know if it's one meal a day, 3 meals a day.
right. And what they found, trying to answer it as best as
Okay,
I can,
okay.
what they found is that how you get there is a whole lot less important than the total.
Okay, interesting. Because
So-
from everything I learned, again, we're talking about the intermittent fasting versus 3 meals a day.
Right. But we're also thinking along the lines of, say, meeting your total caloric needs. So what if you met your nutritional needs? I mean, you got enough protein, you got enough fat, you got enough vitamin, you ate salads, you got enough nutrition, but you just did it with 300 fewer calories.
Okay, but then that just means you, because I'm going to go back to your body is going to be hungry until it satisfies its protein needs.
And I also argue, additionally, if you're not well nourished. So there was a kind of a
So you're
correlation.
not eating the right foods that are giving you the right vitamins.
Right. So if you're like totally deficient in vitamin A, right, and you eat a ton of protein, your body's, if something pops up that's got a lot of vitamin A, you're going to crave it.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So,
Well, I mean, then now we're going to the obesity epidemic in America. I think it's again because everybody's eating carbs. Carbs are cheap.
yes.
They're everywhere. They last a long time. And again, when you go to a supermarket, all you see is carbs. And people are basically overweight, obese. Everybody here in America are starving
Right.
because they don't have the right. I don't know about nutrition.
No, and this is a great topic to bring into this because, while I'm doing all this research, right, of course, we're going to talk about blue zones. Right?
Sure.
Okay. And what's you hear, not Liver King, but there's that other doctor from Hawaii who's always like,
Yeah, no, don't do Liver King. That guy.
no. But there's the other doctor from Hawaii. He's like, everything's bullshit.
Okay.
Kale is bullshit. You know the guy.
No, but I like where you're going with this.
Okay. But all the blue zones that eat vegetables that this guy's calling bullshit.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. And you're talking about eating a lot of meat, right?
Sure.
One blue zone that everybody seems to like to forget about are the Seventh-day Adventists. And they're all vegetarian. Now, they do eat eggs and they do eat cheese. So they're not vegan.
Okay.
Right? But there isn't, they eat a lot of beans. They eat a lot of salad. They eat a lot of stuff. Right?
So maybe they're eating more whole food.
So they're
type
eating better
diet
food.
Versus eating corn
Right.
and wheat.
But,
Corn and wheat. There you go.
but
Those are everywhere.
one thing they're notorious for, besides just being vegetarian, is they don't eat a ton of food. They just eat less. They just literally.
Why?
There's lots of reasons. So, for some reason, I don't know why they tend to eat less. I
So
could
their
argue
calorie intake on average is much less.
than most people. Yeah.
I mean,
So-
that's again equals longevity.
Right. And that's the craziest thing is we could take all these factors that we want and then you start to talk about other things. We'll maybe get into this another day, but like all cause mortality. Right. And it's crazy because if the first thing that can extend your life is just eat less, the second thing that extends your life is be in better shape.
Well, eating less almost equals better shape.
It
in one way or
equals
another.
it equals thinner, but one of the
Well, thinner is less stress on your body.
Right. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're in better, like, say, cardiovascular shape.
Oh, sure. But what I'm saying, I guess it all stacks up, right?
Right.
If you're thinner, you're putting less stress on your body. Okay, so that there's a 10%. If you have more muscles, there's a 20%. If you fast, there's another 5%, and it all stacks up and stacks up.
And it's an odd measure, though. One of the there's a strange correlation. I was really thinking about you because you bring that like grip thingy around.
Yeah.
There's a huge correlation between early death and weak grip.
I'm gonna live forever now.
So, there's a lot of things that play into longevity. I think, like I said, when you start looking at the data, right? We have all these conceptions, and I'm a firm believer in fasting, and fasting does aid in calorie restriction, right? But studies that have actually been done for years, like actual long-term studies, that a person, if they just want to get to an older age, if they fast, they're not going to get as far as somebody who actually just eats less.
Okay, but
So total. So
Yeah,
like,
total. I
let's
was gonna
say
say
you
total.
fast, and whatever your regimen is, 72, one meal, right?
sure,
Whatever.
yeah.
If you take the average number of calories, say annually, and then you put up that next to another person who just eats less annually, does it however they want to do it.
Without fasting.
With it, without it, it's not, the point of it
Okay,
is
okay.
that the person who literally eats less,
Just let's say 20% less calories.
right, lives longer. That's kind of like a hard bottom line. If you were an insurance adjuster and you were like looking at all the factors and you wanted to put
How many calories are you
Right.
eating?
So exactly how much are
yearly?
you eating?
What's your calorie intake a year? Well, that kind of makes sense then, because your body has less to work.
through.
But then with that same logic, let's say I watch a lot of TV, I play a lot of video games, so I sit a lot on the couch.
Right.
But I also, let's say, lift weights and run for 2 hours a day. But then the rest of the time, I'm either sleeping or sitting on the couch. Does that mean I'm going to live longer because I'm using my body a lot less versus a construction worker that's moving or a registered nurse
Right.
that's moving all day long
So
on her feet?
here is what I've interpreted out of the data.
Okay.
The body responds really well to short bursts of controlled stress.
Hit.
Even if you want to talk about like a 30-minute run or an hour run or whatever, right? But you don't run all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So cold plunge, right? You jump in and you jump out. You exercise, you kind of jump in and you jump out. Fasting, you kind of, even if it's like a 3-day fast, right? You like jump in and then you jump out. It's really good.
It's kind of, we're talking about micro-stressing the body.
Right. Now, you eat little meals all day long and you never give your body a chance ever to like not eat, right? You stand like a construction worker, and I've heard this before, like 20 years as a field worker, like picking strawberries, like it'll wreck your body, absolutely destroy it. The body seems to be able to handle and actually respond well when you stress it and then give it time to recover. But if you wake up every day and I can attest to this because I was in that, I've told you, when I was in the cabinet shop, I had like 16,000 steps a day. I was on my feet
Wow.
10 to 12 hours a day. And I really didn't even eat all that much comparatively, as far as like, I would have, like I didn't snack all day.
You're too busy working.
Right.
Office job is too easy to snack.
No, I would eat in the morning, usually before I got to work, and I would break at some point for lunch, and then I would have dinner, and it was usually late. And that was actually something else about timing. We were talking about meal timing. If there's anything else that I've seen as far as timing is concerned, is stopping eating like 3 hours before sleep is super, super beneficial for longevity. But all those, I would work 6 days a week. I would basically wake up, go to work all day, and I wasn't running or sprinting. And I created a host of health issues for myself. I think this could even be argued why like certain electromagnetic fields are bad for us because it's low.
Sure, it wasn't all the chemicals you were using at the wood shop, all the glues and all the stains?
We didn't stain.
You didn't stain. Did you use glue?
Very well. The glue we used, the wood glue,
Yeah.
is very like
Mild.
not volatile. There's not a lot of fumes released.
Okay. So you're not getting high on it.
No, it's not like super glue or epoxies.
Interesting. Okay.
Right.
So there was no chemicals involved here. It was just a lot of.
It was just on your feet,
Yeah,
on concrete, standing and walking and moving over here all day long, every day.
Okay.
And the body, again, taking it away from my personal experience, if you think somebody who like works in a field and they just sits, all day they're active.
It wrecks your body.
It wrecks your body because we're not well adapted to long periods of low level stress with like no periods of recovery.
Now you're going to something else. That's like a modern thing then.
Right. Because if you think about the way we used to say, get food, right? We'd wake up when the sun came up. And actually that goes back to circadian rhythm, which is a whole thing that ties into this. You'd wake up, you grab your spear, and you'd go out and you'd have to worry about snakes and other, whatever, all these things. And you'd be like,
Environment. You're
right.
worrying about the environment.
And then you have to kill this thing that doesn't want to die. And if you wound it, you're going to have to wrestle it down, whatever the case may be.
Lettuce.
Right. It's not lettuce, right?
It's not lettuce.
So you kill it, and then you have to haul it back, and then you were done. And you might have food from your kill for 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
And you would eat, and you'd rest, and you'd do what you do with your wifey. And
So you could almost say it's almost an evolutionary thing where we're not meant to be on our feet all day long.
We're not really meant to do, because, I've had this argument. We're not meant to sit all day. And it's like, there's a great, doctor study.
Yeah, I was thinking that all the time. How did we come into this? Like, how do we start using this muscle, this leg muscle, to put our entire body weight onto it and be on that all day long? What in the world is that doing to us?
Right. And there's stuff that I've heard, every animal sits. What we do differently than every other animal is we don't sit and then get up
from the floor with moving our entire body. We couldn't just lean forward and we're up.
No, we're like half sitting.
Yeah.
Right. And then even if we move a little bit, we're still like in this basic position. Other animals that sit, like you're saying, like all the way on the ground, it's like maybe for like 20 minutes they're in that position, and then they flop all the way over to a whole different position.
Yeah. They're always moving. As you're saying this, I'm thinking about my dog.
Yeah.
How does he sit? When you tell him the traditional sit command, he sits on his back legs and his front legs are in front of him. He's not going to sit like that for hours. It's going to be a few minutes.
Maybe. A few minutes.
If you're lucky.
Maybe.
Yeah. If he's a really good dog, he'll sit, be patient. But other than that, he's always either laying on his back, his side. He's just all over the place.
Right.
Absolutely. I never even thought about that.
No, and they move. Even if, like, my little dog, who's evolutionary domesticated as it gets.
Yeah. Mine's right there.
She'll be laying down somewhere, and then she'll literally get up and walk a whole somewhere else in the house and lay down over there. Sorry. Totally. In like a whole different position.
Well, that makes sense. Mine does. Yeah, that's what mine does all the time. It's not
Right.
like they're sitting for 4 hours in one spot. Never.
Right. And
It's
they
like
don't.
every 30 minutes he's doing something.
Right. So we sit in car, like we literally are in this position all day. It's wonder why we have, degenerative disc diseases and things like
Or
that.
we're all walking like this.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we sit here in the car and we get to work. And when we're at work, we sit here. So from like, again, my interpretation of everything I said, the body can do all of these things. We can sit, we can stand, we can run. And we can sit longer than we can run theoretically, right? But from the mechanics of how our body operates, what I've been able to interpret from the data is that we can really adapt well when we are stressed and then given some time to recover. That stress can be pretty high, right? But the body adapts very poorly to low levels of stress that just go on and on and on and on and on.
It's almost kind of like the frog analogy.
Right, the boiling of the frog.
Yeah, we're not realizing how much damage we do until we're like, hit our 50s, 60s, 35 sometime.
Right.
And we're like, oh, where'd that come from?
Right, and actually that's a good point to bring up, is that while we're younger, right, we have a natural ability to eat more and take a lot more of these environmental stressors. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because from what I can understand is if you do all these things perfectly from your 20s to 30s, not really going to see a lot of benefit on the back half. Your body's young enough, right? And then if you do everything perfect from your 30s to 40s, you might see some benefit, but really, maybe this is where you develop the habits in your 20s and 30s.
I would say yes, absolutely.
Right. And if you can develop the good habits, then you'll carry on well in your later years. But a person who is experiencing problems in their 40s and 50s is going to experience a lot more relief, say, from fasting. Right?
I see what you're saying.
And a person who implements these things later in their life, maybe they've done damage that they can't undo, but my point is if you did everything well in your 20s and 30s, it's not like you're going to stack 20 years on the back half, right? You have to keep it going through the periods of time where you're declining. So this is basically, saying it's better to protect yourself. The older you get, the more important it is to protect yourself. Okay. So fasting, eating fewer calories, making sure you exercise regularly, sleep regularly, all of these things, your age compounds how important it is to do it.
And this is where we go back to the little tweaks, all these little tweaks that we got to do throughout the day, every single little thing we're doing. And that's going to affect us. But then again, our bodies are so resilient. Like in the 20s, sure. Like why is it so resilient? Because our bodies recover so much quicker
because we're
in
20.
the 20s. Yeah. So, I mean, we're 20, but like how our hormones operate, how our bodies absorb anything. I mean, you're talking about different sitting, standing, walking positions. And like as humans, I think we're unique in that case that we do certain weird things like sit. Or we sleep in a certain bed. Like we've never used to sleep in such a nice, cozy, soft bed that, moves to our every little, bone or every lump we have. And then we're talking about resilience, talking about food. We could pretty much eat anything as humans. Like, I mean, I guess at least from the animal world, humans could eat anything.
Well,
from the animal world, not from the vegetable world.
No,
the vegetable world is very picky what we could eat.
It's strange, right? There's a lot.
I mean, what can't we eat from the animal world? Like something that has poison in it, like
frogs.
Well, you
poisonous frogs. No, the poisonous frogs.
Well, I think you could remove that gland from the poisonous frog, and you
not
could
the
eat
one
it.
the skin. The one the skin is poison.
Is that the ones you get the chemical to? to do not hypnosis, the out of body experience chemicals. Are you talking about those frogs? Hallucinations.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Talking about DMT.
No, DMT is something different.
Oh, it's not the frog. Okay.
No, the frogs, they do have that. The frogs you lick and you get high.
Yeah.
They also, then if you lick it again, you're dead.
A
Yeah.
little too much overdose.
No, well, first of all, just because you can eat something doesn't always mean you should. We could start talking about like what makes something kosher, right? Or like how did that even begin? Because there are things in the animal kingdom that even though you can eat it, you don't really want to. Sewer rat. You could.
You'll survive off of
For
it.
a little, right. Other things.
I mean, sure, it's not optimal, but that's again, that's like the
Right.
same thing. You could sit on this chair. This is not optimal.
Buzzards, bears, cats. Why don't we eat cats?
Probably don't taste good.
It's their diet. It's what they eat. That's the problem. If you really think about everything that's really good for us to eat, they either eat vegetarian or they eat insects.
Yeah, I'm a second tier vegan.
So, right? I stopped eating salads because I don't want to deprive my food from its
Exactly.
food.
I want my food to eat the salads. How dare you?
So, anyways, I just see that, you don't eat cats because they're carnivores. You don't eat.
Interesting. Yeah, well, you nailed something. How much do we eat carnivores? I mean, fish. We eat fish. Fish are pretty carnivore. Well, hold on. Chickens are carnivores.
But they eat the meat that they eat.
Oh, they're not strictly carnivores, though.
They're not strictly carnivores,
right.
and the meat that they eat tends to be insects.
You're right.
And even we can eat grasshoppers and crickets.
Sure. Have you ever seen chickens eat meat? Oh, they love meat.
I've not seen that.
Oh, we'll look up some videos where somebody throws a chunk of meat, the chickens attack it.
You know what else they love?
What?
Their own eggs. It's ridiculous. You don't there's a thing about you don't break an egg in front of particularly a rooster, because even though they're dumb, and they love the eggs. If you step on the egg or if you break the egg, it releases the goodness. So if you break an egg in front of a rooster,
he'll just go for it.
He'll then go get the other eggs and break those.
So he'll learn. You just taught him.
Right.
Clever girl.
Right. And and they like the eggs that much that it sinks instantly.
Wow. There's that pathway. Boom, created.
Yeah. Like, oh, okay. I know how to get that now.
Yeah. Well, okay. Have you heard of that idea? And it makes sense to me. The most efficient thing that your body could process is something closest to it. Like a chicken would eat, chicken, and it'd be the most efficient, I guess, way to extract nutrients from that meat because it's the closest to itself.
I'm gonna have to go now. You looking kind of hungry? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so I guess let's not go into human meat, but like other animals, I guess they could process. At least that was the theory. Is like if it was like a pig eating a pig, it would be the most efficient way to process that food it's eating or absorb the nutrients because it's the closest to itself. There's less that the body has to do.
I have a hard time with that because then I think about cows.
Cows love meat.
No, they don't.
Have you ever seen them eat a mouse?
No, I've never seen a cow.
Look it up. Cows will eat that mouse so quick.
But they're biologically designed ruminant animals.
Their stomach is designed to process grass or
right, and
vegetables.
All the biggest animals that we have are all vegetarian.
Yeah.
Hippos, vegetarian. Elephants, vegetarian. Rhinos, vegetarian.
They're all pretty fat.
Cows, right? Cows. Right, oddly, because people who are strict vegetarian and vegans tend to be really skinny and emaciated.
Exactly. Yeah. Like strict vegans, the especially the vegans that die from being vegan.
Yeah.
There's a few of those out there.
So, no, I find that hard to believe because I think a more accurate statement might be that the best thing to eat is the thing that they were designed best to extract from. So if cows ate nothing but mice, I don't think they'd do too well.
Oh no, I totally agree. Yeah, maybe it's like some like a sugar for us when we should not even touch sugar. Sugar would be like a very unique,
Yeah.
once a year kind of treat
Right.
when we're having it on a daily basis.
Exactly. And that all ties back into what you were saying and like about going to the grocery store, everything's carbs, right? And what do carbs do to us? They spike our blood sugar and we replenish all of our glucose stores. And everything that I'm seeing over here, even with the calorie restriction, right? All seems to me, is kind of back to my interpretation of it, seems to be that the benefits have a very, very strong tie to your glucose levels. And
Kind of almost goes all back to glucose.
right, no, like it, and it's like I used to kind of think about like the ketosis and everything else too. Like, it's not that you can't get glucose in your blood; it's that you need to deplete it, and then you can build it back up again. That's fine, but it's never depleting it that's really the problem. So you can like.
And that's when fasting gets involved, I guess.
Right.
It's
No,
kind of forcing
fasting,
your body,
it forces it.
to deplete glucose, and AKA equals health.
Right. It really, really seems to me like everything that I've extrapolated, besides the physiological factors, like when you work out, your VO2 max goes up, your strength goes up. A lot of these factors in longevity have to do with the fact that if you have more muscle mass and you're stronger, and you fall, you don't die.
Sure.
Right. So kind of aside from stuff like that, it's this weird thing that we are really geared and getting away more and more from. Not that we eat processed foods, although you probably shouldn't. You should probably nourish your body as best as you can. But if you're going to eat all this stuff, you've got to get rid of it. And whether you fast
Fasting,
or whether you exercise, and probably like a lot of these things, the best combination is doing some of all of it. Like workout, deplete your glucose. Fast, deplete your glucose.
And honestly, I'm pretty sure it does it at a different way.
Right, a different mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And you want to deplete both of those mechanisms.
Right, and when you work out, you stimulate other things. When you fast, you stimulate other things. And, oddly enough, all these things have strong indicators that their side effect is increased cognitive function, which I'm sure, if you have a higher level of cognitive functioning, you make better choices.
Speaking of better choices, most people that, especially here in America, because being fit in America is quite difficult for many of the reasons we just went over. Yeah. But most people that are fit, go to gym, work out, that are, muscular, they're pretty successful. You don't meet fit people that are not successable in one way or another.
You've never been to prison, have you?
No. That's a different kind of. That's a different kind of fit.
It's a different demographic.
If you see a guy that's well dressed and he's fit, he's probably doing all right. He's making good money. He's making good choices in his life.
And it's odd because it wasn't very long ago where being overweight was that indicator of success.
Which made sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just funny that you say that. And first of all, let me say, I'm actually agreeing with you. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
But
I hear you.
But it's just so funny that, not very long ago, and then from that point to like the beginning of human history, so basically our entire past, that there weren't overweight people ever. And almost everybody was in shape to a certain degree because life simply required it. And if you could have a little belly roll, that was like...
He's doing good.
He's doing real good.
That was like a more attractive man.
Right, because he has enough resources that
to
he
get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, speaking of sugar, this is almost like aluminum head section here.
Okay.
But it's not because because it's real. So your body feeds off sugars. Your brain, sorry. Your brain feeds off sugars. That's its main source of fuel.
Yes.
So there's this theory that your brain is like a separate entity from your physical body. Like if you ever seen a picture with the brain, all the nervous systems that goes through your body. So your brain is that's like you, or maybe not even you. That's like a separate entity, and it controls your body. And because sugar is so addictive to it, because its main source, it does no matter what. It doesn't care if it's killing your body. It's gonna get the sugar no matter what.
It's odd because of what I've heard that the reason why sugar is so addictive is actually the body's way of tricking the brain. So,
well, okay, hold on. We're talking about consciously, subconsciously. We're talking about like physical urges.
what were you talking about, consciously or unconsciously?
Unconsciously.
Unconsciously,
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
So when you eat sugar, the body releases dopamine. And
where does the dopamine generate? Where does it make?
Look it up.
I think dopamine's made somewhere in your brain, and it injects it into your brain.
It's made in one of the glands in the brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's your brain.
But it's not.
It's like your brain's rewarding the body. It's like, hey, here's a hit. Give me more.
No. Well, what I'm saying though is if you start the brain's portion of that is the last stop. So the body is tricking the brain, in my opinion. You eat, right? You get the sugar. What's the first? You taste it, right? And then you digest it, and then your insulin, right?
But as soon as you taste it, you get the hit of the dopamine.
But you get that off of fat too. Like you get that same satisfaction.
It's close, but it's not the same, man.
No, but
sugar is straight up addictive drug.
But my point is, so like the reason, so this goes back to all addictions, and I have a lot of knowledge in this, right?
Okay.
There is a measurable physiological response for an alcoholic or a caffeine addict.
I am.
The few minutes right before you get it, like your body is literally primed and ready, like we're gonna get what we want.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. You like almost you're like salivating just thinking about it because it's right there.
Right. So, but originally, like sugar, okay? The first time you tasted sugar, it didn't do that. The first time you tasted sugar, it was another experience like everything else. And they're going to kick us out.
Yeah.
It was another experience like anything else, but it wasn't until the liver and all these things did all of those bodily functions that your brain learned that's what that taste equals.
Are you sure? Have you seen videos of a kid first time eating their ice cream cone?
But the first time they eat an ice cream cone isn't the first time, almost exclusively, right? I mean, I can't go back through every America's Funniest Home Videos, but the first time a kid eats an ice cream cone or a lollipop or anything else is not the first time they ever had sugar. They had a piece of fruit years ago. They had all these,
I see what you're saying.
Okay. And
so it's a learned behavior, almost like a.
And I think it's the body's way of tricking the brain because both the body and the brain, quite honestly, they're lazy fuckers.
Yeah.
Okay. But
efficient, I would call it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to be as efficient as possible.
That's what it is.
My goal is to eat enough food that I never have to eat again.
Yeah, right.
Until tomorrow.
I'm hungry again. I mean, not really, but I have enough stores to go for 3 months, but feed me.
So, I think the food enters the system, right? I think the system sends out all the chemicals. I think all that, and then the brain learns. It's a lot like the chicken, right? Learn to step on the thing, gets the egg, and then it breaks all the eggs. So I think the brain then goes, okay, well, obviously that's what you want. And it happens to be something I'm very usable too. But from everything I've heard, ketones are actually a better source of fuel, a more efficient source of fuel for the brain. So why don't we get that response from ketones?
We don't get that hit.
But why?
Maybe it's not as instant. Maybe it's because ketones, you have to starve yourself for a little bit to get that ketone, and it slowly probably rises up because sugar, if you, let's say you eat a donut, that's an instant hit. That is so much. But imagine you get that donut, let's split it in 1,000 little pieces.
Right.
And then every I don't know, 2 minutes.
Right.
You won't get that hit,
So,
right?
So what you're saying is it's not because it's such a good source, it's because we have the ability to get in such abundance
Oh,
and
there it is, exactly.
Right.
So there equals the addiction.
Right, because you can get all, and you can't just eat a handful of ketones.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Your body won't allow that to happen. Well, then again, ketones converts, to sugar in your body, so.
Right. So do other things too, because pasta, boy, it's just as.
That's sugar, man. That's a hit of sugar as well.
But it doesn't. But as far as the way you taste it, it's totally different. It doesn't taste sweet.
No. That taste buds, I would say, is separate from your absorption into your body.
Yeah.
Because when I eat pasta, I feel good.
For a minute.
Yeah, for a minute until you eat enough. You're like, okay, my thirds, maybe this is my last one.
Yeah, maybe.
And then after my thirds, I'm like, I don't feel so good. I think I overate, but it's too late at that point. Yeah.
So anyway, I actually do think we're gonna have to wrap this up.
I think this is,
they
this
turn
is
the lights
enough.
on and they're like,
I know, right? Like, what are you guys doing here?
You might have to edit the last half an hour of the video.
Nah, we'll keep it as is.